The mother became extremely alarmed when she discovered that there were rumors going around the school about her 8-year-old daughter looking pregnant. Even though she didn't see anything wrong, an ultrasound later turned up a surprising health problem. Health emergencies are always worrisome, but they can be more upsetting when they affect the youngest member of the family. Sydney-based Leah and her husband thought everything was going well with their youngest kid until strange rumors started to circulate from her school. At first, Jada appeared healthy, and her parents recognized her small size and fragility. They felt her lack of energy was just the result of keeping up with a busy family and attributed her diminutive stature to being the youngest of 4 children. But things took a bad turn when other students began making remarks about Jada's appearance, implying that she was pregnant. Leah hadn't noticed anything out of the ordinary with her daughter, but these comments worried the parents, so they went to the doctor. After giving birth to their 3 eldest children somewhat quickly, Leah and her husband, Victor, were taken aback when Jada unexpectedly joined them a few years later. Jada had no interest in sports or physical activities, in contrast to her siblings. She also exhibited an odd reaction, rapidly becoming blue and shivering as she tried to swim. With these worries in mind, Jada and her family spent a whole weekend in the hospital, fervently seeking a cure for her illness. Jada's mother had described her as a little child that resembled a little stick since she was born. But when her tummy started to grow over time, her petite height took a worrying turn, and classmates and peers started joking that she appeared pregnant. Ironically, what in other circumstances could have been written off as playground taunts ended up playing a critical role in saving Jada's life. As Lee admitted, "We didn't notice it at first because we saw her every day." The children's comments worried Leah, so she looked into the matter more. When she and her spouse took their 8-year-old daughter for an ultrasound, they started a chain of events they never would have imagined having to deal with. Lee recalled the ultrasound encounter and said he was surprised by the technician's response. The sonographer's face turned white as soon as the operation was finished and she had a glimpse of Jada's stomach. The sonographer sent them back to their physician, who informed them that Jada's enlarged organs were the cause of her bulging abdomen. The family went to the hospital for emergency care after receiving this grave verdict. Jada and her family were in the hospital for the whole weekend, praying that anything would improve for Jada. The doctors at the hospital gave her diuretics to treat the swelling in her organs. But Jada lost a lot of water because of the significant amount that had accumulated in her organs. Lee remembered that they gave her diuretics. 5 kilograms of water were quickly lost by Jada, and because so much fluid was lost so quickly, a nurse stayed with the family to reduce the possibility of cardiac arrest. At last, the hospital put the family in touch with a specialist named Claire the following Monday so she could evaluate Jada's case. Transplant specialist Claire explained what was going on and found that Jada had restrictive cardiomyopathy. For even the most strong parents, the news that Jada would need a heart transplant would be upsetting, and Lee compared the diagnosis to a smack in the face. In order to get ready for the required treatment, the medical staff conducted a number of complex tests, including echocardiograms. At first, Lee and Victor thought Jada still had a few years to live, so they went to Melbourne to meet the team who would operate on their daughter. They were aware of how serious the situation was, though, after consulting with the surgeons, physicians, and nurses who were in charge of Jada. Lee's young daughter was promptly added to the list of patients who required a new heart as soon as possible. Numerous further tests were carried out by the Melbourne team, which emphasized how urgent it was to move forward with the transplant as soon as possible. But the family had to go back home at that precise moment. The team told them they had discovered Jada the ideal heart 3 months later. After getting a call from Lee requesting them to get back to Melbourne, the family got on an aircraft. Lee remembered well holding onto the hand of a kind elderly woman the whole way. Though thrilling, she characterized the encounter as weird. Jada went straight to the hospital after landing, and a nurse showed them to their room. The teenager underwent the procedure after the surgeon made his introduction to the family. Thankfully, there were no problems, and the surgeon came back later to report that everything had gone well. Although Jada's parents were affected by the experience, Lee observed that things were beginning to come together at last. Jada was sent to the intensive care unit, ICU, following her surgery, where she was intensively observed by nurses. Her parents were permitted to see her a few hours later. Lee described the moment, stating, "We walked into the ICU hours later. Nothing can prepare you for that. I felt like I left my own body. I was numb. She was laying there lifeless. It was terrifying." Jada had a few minor setbacks during her recuperation, which prolonged her hospital stay beyond what was originally planned, even though the transplant went well. Lee and Victor lived in housing given by Heart Kids while Jada recovered under the close supervision of the medical personnel. For tiny Jada, the donor heart turned out to be practically a perfect fit. She was also visited by the Make-A-Wish Foundation, who gave her a Sphinx cat as a gift. Jada selected the hairless cat because she could relate to the breed's relationship with heart issues and her mother's allergies. Jada has frequent examinations as she grows to make sure the new heart isn't being rejected. With great joy, Lee revealed that the fourth test revealed 0% rejection, giving the family great hope. Jada had her cat Penny as support through the intimidating and nerve-wracking testing. Jada's parents were affected negatively by the whole incident, but Lee said that things were beginning to come together at last. Lee is content to see her daughter have a typical life after learning to expect the unexpected. She said, "Jada is healthy and strong now. We feel so blessed." That's all about the first story, and now let's watch another similar story. The young girl complained of pain in her intimate area, and the gynecologist's examination revealed concerning results. Maya's morning deviated from her schedule and became a sequence of unpleasant happenings. At first, she slept in a lot later than usual, which meant that her son Mateo missed his alarm as well. Maya finally got him to wake up, and as she rushed to the kitchen, she met with further disaster. The planned French omelette had turned into a charred mess and ended up in the garbage instead of on the breakfast dish. Her troubles increased when she discovered that the 2 eggs she had used were the last ones, requiring her to give Mateo money so he could buy something from the cafeteria. Her clever son would joke that the refrigerator looked as though it was in hibernation mode every time he peered at it, raising the possibility of future police inquiries. The sight of an empty fridge every day turned become a comical ritual. "What would you like for dinner?" Maya asked as she kissed Mateo goodbye and went to get him ready for school. Mateo promptly offered macaroni and cheese with sausages. Her face lit up with a radiant smile, and she ran her fingers through her son's brown hair, saying, "Certainly, I don't even know why I bother asking you." Instead of enjoying her breakfast, Maya was abruptly overcome by the overpowering smell of burning cloth. She was horrified to see her brand new blue shirt spread out on the ironing board, the fabric permanently creased by the harsh iron. Quickly, the shirt went into the trash with the already unfortunate French omelette. After that, Maya went to assemble the coffee machine, only to discover that she was holding a bag of cat food rather than a package of ground coffee. Though her mind was still in another place, there were indications that something was wrong. Luckily, Fabiana, her cat, attracted attention by rubbing against her legs and making frantic meowing noises to indicate that she was hungry for breakfast. That was when Maya made up her mind not to put on makeup that morning since she thought she would get mascara on her eye. After packing the necessities, she hurried to work, checking her watch several times while she tried to remember when her first appointment was scheduled to begin. Maya was a doctor who worked in a women's health clinic. She enjoyed her demanding job. Maya was an excellent physician despite the difficulties of gynecology, a delicate field of medicine requiring a specific touch and knowledge. She was very skilled at consoling expectant mothers with the appropriate words. Maya offered assurances of trust and anonymity to patients who expressed a wish to abort without making eye contact or those who were experiencing problems related to their sexual health. She was available to assist and listen. Her mother's encouragement inspired her to pursue a career in gynecology, and as time went on, her enthusiasm for the field grew. Maya was determined to have a positive influence on her patient's life, therefore she tried to be a sympathetic and understanding person. Donna Candela never gave up on the dream that her daughter would live a different life and not make the same mistakes she did. She did not want Maya to risk her health for a menial, low-paying job. But the woman was wrong in one regard, unlike her own experience. Maya exited the premises quickly and made her way to her elegant yet ancient car, which appeared to have more issues than not. Just as she opened the door, she heard her neighbors' voices, two people who had trouble hearing and thought their chats were private, coming from behind her. Still, their voices resounded throughout the courtyard like a dilapidated record player whenever they gossiped. "Poor girl, so young and beautiful, it's such a pity. And what about being alone with the child? Well, she has no other choice, it must be in the genes," they said. Maya scowled before slamming the door shut and getting into the car. But she regretted her response right away. It wasn't the finest idea for her to get her aggravation out on the ancient car. After some difficulty, she managed to start the engine. Despite her constant efforts to find out who her father was, Maya knew very little about him, and the car was a bequest from him. Her mother was adamant about keeping that secret to herself. On one isolated occasion in her school years, Maya heard her mother and her friend, who were both intoxicated, talking to one another. Her mother then related how her daughter's father had promised her a life of bliss and worry-free living, along with an eternal pledge of love. To get his family ready for the announcement, he had intended to travel to his hometown prior to keeping his word. Ultimately, though, he just disappeared, leaving Candela with her daughter in crippling debt. He later wed a woman whose choice and docility won his parents' approval. The young woman's attractiveness also played a role in the decision, in addition to their shared religious beliefs. Maya had come away from the encounter with a lump in her throat and unanswered concerns concerning the father she had never met. Because of her deep-seated resentment of her father, Candela's mother took a dramatic step in regards to her daughter. In a sign of rebellion and distance, Maya chose to take her daughter's last name instead of her own. She did, however, decide to keep her given name, which was unique and had a special meaning. Aside from the genes that produced her alluring looks, that name was all that Maya's father had left behind. Maya had mysterious, dark eyes that matched the hue of the most fervent lyrics. Her skin tone was a brown reminiscent of coffee and milk, and her hair was a stunning jet black. Her skin was as velvety as velvet. Maya put on the music in the car and attempted to unwind in an effort to de-stress. She wanted to stop at a cafe for a reviving coffee, but she was pressed for time. Suddenly, issues continued to arise, providing her with no relief. She was still 20 minutes away from being at the clinic when her car started to stall and start only sometimes. Maya, trapped in the middle of the road, was overcome with worry. "But is this possible?" the woman asked, her expression a mixture of dismay and annoyance. When she opened the hood after parking the automobile in the first spot that was open, she saw a cloud of smoke or vapor coming from the vehicle. As soon as Maya started to examine the engine, she started to cough violently and had to move back to try to fix the mechanical issue. Grumbling under his breath, the doctor said, "Maybe I should study mechanics instead of anatomy." Maya, meantime, was encircled by passing cars, and the drivers were honking at her to show how impatient they were. Maya's tolerance finally gave way after a few honks, and she lifted her hand in a disapproving motion and said something to the honking car. Maya was so upset over the unplanned breakdown that she didn't notice a fancy car pulling up next to hers. "It would be considerate of you to stop and offer assistance. Are there no gentlemen left in this world?" she said. "Can I be of assistance?" a manly and friendly voice asked, breaking the ice with a note of humor and a positive surprise. "They say that good things follow a bad streak, and minor misfortunes can lead to major catastrophes." Maya turned to face the man, startled, and her eyes widened as she cried out, "Edgar." He grinned back. The circumstances made them think of the life lessons contained in Proverbs. Maya was not in a hurry to leave this world since she enjoyed the unforeseen surprises that life may bring. But then, unexpectedly, memories of a pivotal time in her life suddenly came to her. Edgar had been her well-kept secret, a lovely love that she had kept hidden from everyone else. Sarah was a medical student interning at a private clinic at the time, and she thought it was an amazing adventure. What could be more unique and fascinating, after all, than going on a date with a doctor in his office, with an intriguing continuation perched atop his desk? The news that Edgar had cheated on his wife didn't faze Maya. Edgar mumbled, his words mixing with the kisses he landed on her neck, "I want only you. My relationship with Elena is just a business arrangement. It's what they call a marriage of convenience. I know I'll leave her, but we'll have to wait a bit." But he decided to break things up with Maya when his wife got pregnant, leaving her with no choice but to gradually put her broken life back together. By then 10 years had gone, and though her heart still raced, Maya knew how to quickly bring herself to a state of serenity. "What an ironic coincidence," the woman grumbled, casting aside her shoulders. Edgar had a bad feeling this dark-haired woman was hiding something. Still, Maya went on, her smile beaming brighter this time. "Since I have to meet my ex-boyfriend, I'd like to be more dressed up. But fate has its way. You're in a suit and well-groomed, and I, on the other hand, left without makeup and can't figure out what's wrong with my car." Edgar felt so much better that he grinned and was more relaxed in his posture. He abruptly told the woman, "You know perfectly well that you don't need makeup to be beautiful." With trepidation, Maya gulped, "I would even tell you that you haven't changed at all," and was ready to return to the car. She made a motion for the hood. "I think you asked me before if I needed help." "No, but this old car is the last thing that needs 2 doctors." Edgar surprised the woman by taking off his jacket, rolling up his shirt sleeves, and looking beneath the hood. Maya called the office in the interim to explain the circumstances. She was given the day off, and one of her co-workers volunteered to take her place. It was only after hearing this that Maya felt comfortable breathing. "I found the problem, but I'm not going to be able to solve it," Edgar eventually said, sounding sad. "I'll call a tow truck. I can take you somewhere now, there's no need. I've had to take a day off, and what do you think about grabbing a coffee?" Edgar responded. "We haven't seen each other in a long time. Let's chat for a while." Maya felt as though her heart would burst from her chest. It was an unusual feeling. Edgar and she both made an effort to project a carefree demeanor, despite the unease that appeared to permeate the air. They pretended as though Maya hadn't been frustrated by the traumatic separation and that it had never occurred. The woman's stomach produced an odd noise when she opened her mouth to turn down the coffee offer because it had not had any caffeine that morning along with a French omelette and even cat food. Maya reddened and put her palm over her face. She laughed at herself and said, "Look, what do you think if we postpone the coffee for another day? That way, I can come dressed up and with a full stomach." Edgar laughed, and Maya recognized the sound of his laughter so well that she experienced butterflies in her stomach, a feeling she had totally forgotten. She bit her lip and became irritated with herself for acting in such a manner, recalling that exact moment when laughter and coffee started it all. Unbeknownst to Maya, she found herself back in a quaint cafe with a plate of croissants and lots of fresh flowers. She ate greedily, not wanting to take her eyes from Edgar's hand, which was still ringed. The woman, who was still married, thought to herself as she listened to Edgar tell her about his life, "Well, no harm done. At least he pays for breakfast. He owes me anyway." He looked very enthusiastic, not wanting to discuss anything about it. He talked about his business accomplishments and the scientific conferences he was able to attend. Maya said, "I'm fine," and shrugged as she gave a quick account of her life to keep the conversation going. "I continue to live in the same place, my mother's apartment. I work as I had dreamed, as a gynecologist, helping women become mothers. It's a special profession, don't you think? We save lives, assist babies in being born." Maya's face was filled with passion. Edgar was unable to look away from her. Ultimately, he escorted her home while observing the old people on their balconies and remarked, "Now the neighbors will start gossiping again." Edgar stated that escorting a woman of her beauty home would be a pleasure for anyone, and he appeared unhurried to bid Maya farewell. She questioned, perplexed, "What do you mean by that?" She smirked at Edgar and said, there's only one man in my life, and that's Mateo. She got out of his car and went straight to the entrance, not turning around. Edgar followed her look, startled when he learned about this strange Mateo and saw his ex-girlfriend again, a storm suddenly erupting over his calm. He was jealous for unknown reasons. Maya didn't detach herself from the current experience until she shut her door and let go. Edgar was standing in front of her, looking relaxed and at ease. He laughed and teased her in a light-hearted manner, as if he wanted to win her over. Edgar tried to get Maya to divulge information about her son and personal life, but she refused. She thought the encounter was informal and rejected the business card Edgar had handed her, which turned out to be significantly false. Later, she received a call from the auto repair company informing her that her car had been thoroughly inspected and repaired, with Edgar paying for all of the costs. When she saw this unexpected gesture, Maya had to reconsider what she had thought. Maya called Edgar after defending the keeping of the business card as a matter of courtesy. "Hey, Edgar, you really didn't have to do that. I can cover the expenses myself. Trust me, it was just a personal treat. I won't accept repayment. If you want to express gratitude, how about you cover dinner expenses?" "That's all I ask," Edgar said. Maya bit her lip as she realized she had fallen for the ruse, but she thought the idea made sense. "Well, if you promise to refrain from ordering dishes with white truffle, I'll cover dinner," she said. Edgar picked up Maya from work and she saw on the back seat of the car an extravagant bouquet of pale pink flowers. Maya inhaled the scent of the petals and was reminded of Edgar's kind gesture. Edgar said, "I seem to remember you enjoyed the smell of Melissa and pink flowers. Tell me, do you still fancy the color pink?" Maya nodded and lowered her eyelids. Actually, she thought pink was too childish and had outgrown it. Rather, she was now partial to chilly grays and purples that evoked foggy city days. She decided to keep this feeling to herself, though. Instead, she said, "I appreciate that you remember me." Maya's heart skipped a beat as Edgar looked at her and said, "It's hard to forget you. You're so sweet." Edgar's term was adorable, and Maya had never heard it before. It signaled the start of their new romantic adventure. Maya was exhausted from her loneliness and couldn't resist the attraction of her first love. She felt that she had been unfairly deprived of the bliss that all women seek. Maybe that's why she decided to lie. After all, everything is fair when it comes to love and battle. After dating for a few weeks, Maya declared, "I want you to meet someone." Edgar asked sharply, "Who is Mateo?" "You said he was the man of your life," he stated with a jealous flourish. "I think you'll like him. And if you can, bring a chocolate cake, okay?" Maya said with an enigmatic smile. Edgar arrived at Maya's house that afternoon and saw right away what was going on. When Mateo left the cake in the kitchen, he whispered to Maya, "How old is he?" 10, Maya answered as she met Edgar's gaze. He paled and mirrored the boy's motion, running a hand through his brown hair. There was no question. Maya and Edgar's relationship took a new turn after that day. Edgar reacted instantly to his son and tried to fill in the gaps left by his absence. Maya's only requirement was to keep Edgar's paternity a secret from her kid. Enchanted by Maya and thrilled to have an heir, Edgar was willing to do anything. "You abandoned me once. I won't let you do the same to him. If you decide to fulfill your old promise and leave your wife to be with us, we can discuss it. If not, no." He started the process of divorcing his wife gradually, and Maya didn't feel guilty about it. Edgar had cheated her out of the happiness she deserved at 20, she told herself, and now he owed it to her. She was happy to see Edgar shower Mateo with presents and tech. Her confidence that she was making the correct decision was strengthened by seeing them play soccer and her son learn how to ride a bike. However, one typical workday was when everything changed. The doctor was stressed up since she was alone in the office and all of her co-workers, including the nurse, were on vacation. She and Edgar were going to be spending the weekend away, so the only thing getting her through was the excitement of the approaching Saturday. The silence was broken by an unexpected knock on the door as the three of them were enjoying their time in the city. Maya said, "Please come in." When Maya saw the unexpected guest, she was shocked and confused. Her name was Valeria, and she saw that she was reportedly around 17. She was looking at the list of booked appointments. But the girl in front of her couldn't have been older than 10, she didn't look any older than Matteo. The girl asked, barely audibly, "Can I help you?" avoiding direct eye contact. Maya asked, setting aside the patient chart, "Yes, Valeria, right?" The girl gave in to a deep flush, which was to be expected in a gynecologist's office. "I'm not Valeria," she sighed and admitted, crossing her fingers apprehensively. "I asked a friend to schedule an appointment. We need to talk. You and I." Maya nodded carefully, watching the nervous little girl in her office with concern. The girl hesitated, as if giving away her identity wasn't part of her original plan, but then she said, "You can tell me everything without fear. Let's start over. Tell me your name." Maya asked softly, "Okay, then why did you come to see me?" With tears welling up in her eyes, the girl raised her head. "My dad," she trembled to say. Already nervous, the doctor felt that something horrible might have happened. Maya questioned, her worry growing, "What did your father do to you?" The young lady breathed deeply and said, "My dad wants to leave us for you. Please, don't take him away from me. I love him so much, you know. But since he's been with you, he ignores me. He's always angry, never has time, and he stopped coming to my performances. He says he's too busy. But I know he's been seeing you. My mom knows too. Last night, I heard her crying in the bathroom." The doctor was shocked and the girl made eye contact with him. The girl began to cry, and Maya, not realizing what was going on, noticed tears running down her cheeks. "Please don't disrupt my family. I implore you. I want my father to return to his former self. I want him and my mom to share laughter and weekends together, just like they used to. And you're beautiful." "Why do you want my father?" the girl said. His wife was the object of his complaints, and he never brought up his daughter. He talked about how overwhelming family life is and expressed relief at getting back in touch with Maya, but he was also bored. It was then that Maya saw herself in the girl. She missed her father even though she had never met him. The emptiness left by a father's love persisted in a child's heart, despite the efforts of her amazing mother to fill every gap. Seeing the sorrow in the girl's eyes, Maya realized she could not create her own happiness at the cost of another person's suffering, particularly a child's. "Your dad and I go way back. You're mistaken. He doesn't love me. We reconnected for a project, which is now complete. Understand?" "I'm serious," Maya whispered to the girl. The girl asked, a mix of relief and concern, "Is it me?" "Yes, without a doubt," Maya replied. It took Maya some time to comfort the girl, saying, "He told me how much he loves you." The girl's cheeks returned to their original color as tea and cookies were served. Rosa Maria, the girl, talked about how she found out about her father's relationship with the doctor. She'd been to the clinic before with her teenage friend Valeria, when they'd seen Monica's father's automobile and him picking up Maya from work. Valeria said that her father's girlfriend was this stunning woman. After her father became estranged from the family, Monica decided to speak with her father's partner and ask for a split. That's what Maya did that evening. "I apologize, Edgar. I lied to you. Matteo is not your son. When you left me, I was in despair. I encountered someone who reminded me of you, got drunk, and spent the night with him, and that's how Matteo came into the world," Maya told the individual. Edgar made an effort to win Maya over by displaying his love and devotion to Matteo in spite of everything. But Maya was unwavering in her resolve. She didn't know if the man would be loyal to his family, but she knew she couldn't be the cause of someone else's suffering. Eventually, she was left alone with her son, the love of her life. Still, loneliness did not last long. One day, When she and Matteo were leaving the city, her car broke down and an automobile immediately drew up next to them. Though he wouldn't be Maya's first love, the driver, Luigi, would be her last.